How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. SUI just hit all-time highs. We have a potential breakout happening very soon. We just hit some records on SUI as well. And we have a massive asset manager that is now talking about SUI at $10 here in the next year. That's one of their massive predictions for the year ahead. I want to go through all this. I also want to show the TA. I'm going to bring Tyler Hill onto the channel, so I'll leave a link to him underneath the video in case you want to check out his channel. He'll be going through what he's seeing on the charts. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos just like this. Also, if you want to trade crypto, if you want to trade SUI, there's a link to BTCC underneath the video. I've been trading, and yeah, we've made some great returns, 362% on SUI on this long, and Tyler and I have nailed it pretty much on the channel. If you guys want to trade on leverage or spot or copy trade, there's a link to BTCC underneath the video. When you use that link, you get an extra bonus on first-time deposits, and you get lower trading fees. Of course, make sure you understand what you're doing because leverage can be very risky. Of course, let's start here. SUI up near $5, and we'll play for you, or I'll show you what Tyler's thinking about SUI in the charts in a second. But take a look at this. SUI's total DEX volume broke $35 billion yesterday and set a new record for DEX volume, more than 466 million in 24 hours. Now, a day later, it just broke another 24-hour record for DEX volume, $555 million. The fact is, people love using SUI. It's very quick. It's very cheap. So yeah, this is one of the reasons that it's moving up in price, is it is maybe undervalued compared to some other layer ones, and it's doing a ton of volume. A lot of people love using it. They also just partnered with Ant Digital Technologies to tokenize ESG-backed real-world assets, tapping into a $13 billion market cap. Okay, let's look this up so you can get a feel for this company. Ant Digital Technologies. I believe this is a stock. Yeah, you can see here, stock price. It looks like it's based in Hong Kong. Honestly, I don't know much about it, but apparently they are going to be a massive partner of SUI. Also, we have news from Vaneck. One of their predictions, prediction number 1 actually, and in case you don't know what Vaneck is, it's one of the massive cryptocurrency asset managers. Their first prediction for 2025, crypto bull market hits a medium-term peak in Q1, sets new highs in Q4. We project Bitcoin to be valued around 180K, Ethereum to trade above 6,000, Solana to exceed 500, and SUI to surpass $10. Now, this is pretty bullish, and you can tell, you know, there are a lot of people that just love SUI. It's like the mini Solana in a lot of people's minds. Raul Paul talks about Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and SUI he's quite bullish on. Right after that, they talk about the U.S. embracing a strategic reserve for Bitcoin as well. So, like, the fact is, it seems like a lot of people are taking SUI very seriously and looking at it. If they haven't looked at it before, they're looking at it now. That's one of the reasons why I opened a long trade a little while ago, because I felt like I was underallocated towards SUI right now. So again, if you want to check that out, there's a link to BTCC where you can get better allocated to SUI, but of course there is risk. Let's move over to Tyler and see what he's seeing in the charts. Tyler, over to you.
I appreciate the intro there, Sam. And yes, let's look at SUI real quick, because honestly, it is giving me a lot more bullish signals than I think people actually even recognize right now. So let me give you a little bit of context. Okay, so as you remember, the last couple SUI videos I've done here with you on the channel, what we have been talking about was the breakout from this descending channel. I think you might remember, like a month ago or so, I told you all while we were in this descending channel, like, hey, listen, this is the opportunity to really start pushing us up towards $4.50, $5, but things need to be systematic. We need to see it break out in the correct way. And so we laid out what needed to happen, right? All right, we need to break out to the upside. We need to back test the support. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is we need to clear that previous high on the channel. That was step number 2 there. Step number 3 was we needed to break the macro Fibonacci zone. That was the Fibonacci zone from the channel swing high to the channel swing low. That's the golden box, and that was step number 3. And we saw SUI do all of those. Now, the moment we did all those, I came back on Sam's channel and I told your audience, I was like, hey, listen, now that we've seen the three steps validated, it wouldn't shock me to see a push towards $4.50 to $5. We just need to, of course, see what time gives us. Now, over the last few weeks or so, we have started to see that move, right? We saw the beautiful full extension up towards $4.50. So we hit our first price target before we started to pull back. Now, as that pullback started, basically my entire thesis was, hey, this is totally fine. This was the first major pump off the breakout. All we need to see is a higher low, and I expect it to continue. We lost key support level number 1. This was the first level that I thought might hold as support, but it didn't. The bulls did step in here, which was a very good sign, but we did end up losing that support, and we came down to the second level of support I laid out for you all, which was that previous gold box from the descending channel itself. Well, what do you know? SWE's price maintains there, curves around, takes off back towards the upside, extending up to our next breakout target, which was $4.88. So these last few times we've been here on the channel, Sam, we've been smoking it with SWE, and so let's just continue and let me talk about what's going on now. Well, what we're seeing from SWE is very similarly to what we saw back here, right? We just made a beautiful move. We just hit a Fibonacci extension level, and people started taking profits. Because what people need to remember is that these pullbacks aren't scary. They're not a bad thing. Simply what it is we hit the breakout target. We hit the level that a lot of traders thought we would hit. So they sold a little bit. And as more people sell and sell and sell, well, it triggers a little bit of a sell-off. And that's why we saw SWE's price pull back, 8 or 9%. It's totally fine. That's not something to be worried about. But what I look for whenever we see these little pullbacks off of these take profit levels is, well, what happens next, right? Are the bulls going to be willing to step back in when it's important to start trying to continue upwards? Or was this enough for them? There will be a point in time where the bulls have had enough and that they're going to go to something else and that SWE is going to hit a top. It's just going to happen at some point. I don't think it's now, but you always want to try to gauge to see if it is now. And so what I always look for is how do we respond to the first pullback off of a pump like this? And what we've seen over the last few days has actually been pretty dang on good. We saw a pullback towards that previous high, right? That $4.50 high we put right here before this big pullback. And you know what happened? The bulls actually stepped in. We saw the pullback happen, and the bulls started buying and buying and buying and buying as the price hit that previous high from back here. Now, the reason that's so good is because it means that they're still around. And that's very important. It means that they're still around and that they're still willing to step in even though the price is going downward. So even though a lot of bulls took some profits off the table, they didn't close out everything. They're not done with SWE quite yet. And when you're in a bull market, that usually implies that there's still going to be more room to the upside to go. I mean, in these moments where we get a little bitty pullback like that, but then you go look at something like your 1 hour RSI, for example, and we got to reset all the way back down to the 50% threshold, that's a very good sign. Now, does this mean that SWE's not going to possibly pull back all the way to the golden box? No, absolutely not. It very well might do this, but that's not important, right? What happens in the short term is irrelevant almost, in my opinion. It's more about what's happening in the macro. And what's happening in the macro is that in a moment like this where we got this little bitty 7% pullback, we saw the hourly RSI resetting. We saw the MACD resetting. We saw the bulls willing to step in as soon as we hit this key level of support, which means they're not done with it. And so whether it breaks to the upside now and goes upwards, or whether it comes back down one more time and then goes upwards, this is what I think is going to happen with SWE. I think SWE's price is going to push above $5. I think it's chasing $5.40. And so because of that, these are amazing signals to me. And obviously I may be wrong. Obviously I might have just misread this a little bit. And SWE's going to create a double top that's going to get broken to the downside. We're going to lose support. We're going to head all the way back down to $2. I just don't see that happening. It just doesn't feel right to me. That's not what my gut says is going to happen. My gut says it still has some room left to run. Is there 1,000,000% to the upside left? No, obviously not. I mean, look how high SWE has gone. I mean, look what's happened just in the last few months. Eventually, the music will stop. And maybe I'm wrong and the music's about to stop now. But I just don't see that. And so until I see more signs and reasons to believe that, SWE's price is going to absolutely nuke, I'm not going to expect it to nuke. We're in a bull market. And oftentimes in bull markets, the easiest bet is just betting that it's going to go up. And so in moments like these, when we're seeing all these resets and these indicators cooling off and the bull stepping in at a key level like this, flipping that resistance into support, it's a very good sign that they're not done with SWE yet. And I think that we could continue higher. And so although I'm not really buying more SWE right now, I've actually been taking profit off SWE. I have actually pulled my entire initial investment out of SWE and I'm running fully on profits now. I am still very bullish. And I think that, an easy, 12, 15, 20% to the upside still easily could be on the way, especially with all the momentum it's seeing from an ecosystemic perspective right now. I mean, you saw earlier, I'm sure, that crypto named Lo-Fi, maybe you mentioned it already. That one absolutely sent to a $166 million market cap almost out of nowhere. So the ecosystem's obviously thriving. And so when you combine all these things together, to me, it's like, hey, we're probably in a very good spot. We're probably looking at, SWE pushing $5 plus soon. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing. So what happens in the short term doesn't matter. If it's going to pull back, pull back. If it's going to go sideways, go sideways. Doesn't matter. Because the likelihood is that upwards is still where this thing is going to go, and that's what I'm banking on. And so with that said, I just wanted to share that with you and your audience, and of course, I would love to hear your opinions on that next.
Tyler, thanks so much. Yeah, I think a lot of people are extremely bullish with SWE. A lot of it will come down to what's happening with Bitcoin. A lot of it will will come back down to what's happening macro, right? How are the markets doing? But right now, SUI is the darling of the top 20. Everyone loves it seems like. And like I said earlier in the video, they've been getting a lot of usage, so I would not be surprised to see it continue to run. Let me know your thoughts on SUI underneath the video. Again, if you want to trade, there's that link to BTCC. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next one.